As a former state prosecutor and criminal defense attorney, I'm often asked the question, what's the difference between defending yourself and defense of others, such as a loved one or a friend? And the answer is surprisingly simple and surprisingly complex all at the same time. The same basic self-defense laws apply. In other words, someone's going to have to be in deadly threat before you can use deadly force. And keep in mind that the wording on this varies from state to state. Maybe it's you're in reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm. You have to check your local jurisdiction. But keep in mind, who is it that's in that fear? And the answer is not yourself. If we're talking about defense of other, now we're talking about that other person that you're looking to defend. But keep in mind, it's very easy to misread a situation. Maybe that person you're looking to defend is actually the store security who's trying to apprehend a shoplifter. You never quite know what you're going to be getting yourself involved in. But do keep in mind that if you do misread that situation, you may wind up going to prison for quite a long time. So it's always very dicey to get yourself involved in a defense of other situation. And to be clear, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be mindful of the risks. Now this may be different, obviously, if you're talking about defending a good friend, defending a loved one, where presumably you know who the good guy and the bad guy are. But keep in mind, the exact same self-defense laws apply there. And one more thing to touch on is we're not talking about defense of stuff. We're talking about defense of self or defense of other. In other words, if somebody is trying to snatch a purse, you may have to articulate, if you shot that purse snatcher, why your friend or loved one was actually in reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm, why that person was facing a deadly threat. Now that may be easy or difficult to do depending upon the situations, whether that person, the attacker, is brandishing a weapon such as a knife or a firearm. But keep in mind that you may have an aggressive prosecutor who may go after you for charges if that person's just grabbing the purse and there's no weapons that are out there, and all of a sudden you decided to shoot them. I'm not saying that's fair, I'm not saying that's right, but I am saying that's reality. So keep all those things in mind. It's defense of other, defense of self. Keep in mind the fact that it's from the perspective of that individual, and you're going to need to know all that information. Keep in mind the risks that you run should you choose to involve yourself in a situation like that. And lastly, keep in mind that we're talking about defense of other, not defense of stuff.